Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Andy Walker, here we are again, and interesting that the intro says two guys either side of 50, but I can tell you what, we are not either side of 50 episodes of the Missing Links
No,
Golf Show.
no, we are not.
We are
It
smack bang on the button.
it's sort of hard to believe, isn't it, that we've been
It's
going
crazy.
for almost a year. I think by the time we release this episode, it probably is going to be a year. And we've actually managed to almost get one a week. We haven't quite. There are a couple of little hiccups there
We had a
in the
Christmas
first couple
break.
of months. Yeah, well, we had a
A
Christmas
Christmas
break. I
break.
I also wasn't particularly well. I remember I had a bit of a crash
Yeah, I
and
think
burn there just
I think
before
we ended up
Christmas.
squeezing two in the week after or something like that to make up
Yeah,
for it. But we've done all right. I think
yeah,
we're going to rack up 50 in 52 weeks. I think is
yeah.
pretty much how it's going to be. That's just crazy.
Well, I mean, given the average podcast doesn't last 5 episodes, I mean, to actually get to 50, that's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's in all seriousness, we do like to have a bit of a joke around and go out on tangents, but I think it says something about both of us really that we can actually, be persistent, get in there each week, even though we don't necessarily always want to. It might be a bit of a tight squeeze at times
Speak for
with
yourself.
life. But I look, I think to get through 12 months to get through 50 episodes, I think it's a bit of an achievement. So I think we need to celebrate it.
Definitely is. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Andy Walker and my good self. I think we deserve all the accolades coming our way. Um, we never found out, actually. We never found out if we were going to be nominated in Best New Talent in the Global Podcasting Awards. But
No, no. Well, the Australian Podcasting Awards I know were coming up, and we did talk briefly about
we
maybe,
should have put something in, put a
putting
submission.
an
That would have been good.
application, and
Next year.
then life took over and we didn't.
Yeah, it tends to happen. Funny that you mentioned that the average podcast doesn't make it past 5 episodes. I also did a little bit of research and I found that I think the statistic was something like only 11% of podcasts make it to 50 episodes,
Wow. Okay.
which ties in quite nicely with approximately the same percentage of golfers that make it to single digit handicaps.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
So I think you could say that in podcasting parlance,
We're single figure
we're
handicappers.
single figure podcasters.
Excellent. Excellent. Good one. I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
I'm not
I,
sure the
I like the comparison.
yeah. I thought you would. I'm not sure what the cutoff is for us to become scratch handicap podcasters, but
Well, it isn't Scratch like the top 1% or something. So
yeah, yeah,
you'll
yeah,
have to sort of look up how many
yeah.
podcasts make it into that 1%
I feel
mark.
like there might be a little bit more of a criteria than just sheer number of episodes of output. It
Yeah,
might have
maybe.
something to do with listenership. So Pilgrims, help us out. Get us to scratch in the world of podcasting by sharing this episode and this show with all of your friends around the world. On that topic, actually, Andy Walker, sharing it around the world, we've mentioned a couple of times just how global this show is.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you are up on the latest statistics, but
I must admit, having come through a fairly full on time at work, no, I am not.
I would like to avail you of such statistics. Would you believe we are now downloaded in 39 countries
Wow.
around the
Okay.
world?
So what's our latest country? So I know that
Brazil,
we were Brazil. Okay.
Brazil. We're
I
big
know
in
that we were
the
starting to get into
Brazilian
Europe.
golf. Yes, we're heavily now in Europe. Also Iceland. I think we might have covered our
Yeah, I
foray
think we've
into
covered
Iceland.
Iceland. I think we may have even had a Swedish listener
Sweden,
when
yes,
we sort of talked last about it.
yes, we do. Belgium, France, Italy, Netherlands, Lithuania, Ukraine, and Russia. Switzerland. These are all of the European nations. Spain,
Denmark.
Norway. Um, no, we've got Finland and Norway, but no Denmark.
I see.
Uh,
I would have thought Princess Mary would have gone in the
Princess
bandwagon
Mary.
by now.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, lift your game. What's going on? I mean, we do
I
have
mean, she's an Aussie, so
she's
you've
from Tasmania, and we do actually have some Tasmanian pilgrims. So
yeah. So
surely, surely
if
they're
anyone
relatives of
knows,
hers, aren't
we now don't have listeners in
they?
Tasmania.
We did have some Tasmanian listeners.
Wow.
Oh, we
Okay.
love our Tasmanian listeners. Actually, big fan of some Tasmanian golf courses too. Barnbougle Dunes, as an
Oh,
example. I
like
think
I've been down to Barnbougle Dunes 3 times now, and what a great place it is to play golf. I mean, that's just
oh,
it's
it's
got to
next
be
level.
on
It's awesome.
even international visitors. If you come to Australia, you've got to get down to the Sandbelt. That's what the Australian golf
You
courses are
do.
famous for.
You
But
do. You do.
B, take a trip down to Barnbougle. But Barnbougle is just phenomenal place to play golf.
It is. It is. Germany, Greece.
Nice.
It's continuing our foray into European nations, and then there's some really some left field ones that I wouldn't have thought were big on golf. I mean, not that all of those I would have thought would be big on golf, but Mozambique,
Okay.
Philippines, Thailand, fair enough.
Yeah.
Mexico, Japan, Morocco. No, I'm not sure of any Moroccan golfers. I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, I think there
Switzerland,
are. I think on the DP World Tour, there's a couple from Morocco.
sure there would be. Costa Rica and Puerto Rico, good. India, growing in India.
Hmm,
We've got Austria, Zimbabwe, UAE, Botswana,
nice.
Ireland, South Africa, Canada, UK,
See,
US, as
see,
you'd
I wouldn't have
expect.
thought Botswana would be big. I reckon
On
that's got to be a
golf,
pilgrim who's
who's been
visited
traveling.
on a safari or something.
It's possible. I remember seeing, I can't remember where I actually saw this, but I do remember seeing somewhere, this is not going to narrow it down, but somewhere in Africa, there's a story of a guy who's been getting secondhand clubs from around the world
Yeah, right.
and getting them shipped over and actually sharing the game with some people who would just otherwise not have any chance of playing
Yeah,
golf.
yeah.
And
Okay.
it's amazing. And, like hitting golf balls, not on golf courses, but just in wherever they can find
Yeah,
spaces.
yeah.
A little bit like Flex Whack at the urban golfer, potentially,
Yes.
although the settings weren't quite the same.
Mm,
But yeah, fantastic. 39 countries. That has blown me away in 50
mm.
episodes and one
Yeah,
year
yeah.
that it's actually gone that far around the world.
Mm. Yes, and I agree. I mean, obviously we started our journey slash pilgrimage with the intention of sharing it with some mates and some family, and to be able to get it to 39 different countries is yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's it's crazy. It's legitimately crazy. Speaking of pilgrims, though, Andy Walker, I thought, what better way to celebrate 50 episodes than with the
And
voice
to
of the
hear from the
pilgrims?
pilgrims,
Mm.
nice.
The pilgrims themselves. I've got a couple of crackers that have come through. This one came through. I don't have a name because this was via the send us a text message button in the show notes.
Yep.
Now, shout out to anyone that's messaging us via the send us a text message button in the show notes. Yes, we love it. It's great. It does get to us. However, we can't reply. That's a little bit of a downer. And
And we
maybe
don't know
something
who
that
it is,
we don't know who it is. This is simply from 0395 in
and
Mon.
and no and no pilgrim is just a number to us.
Correct. Although they are the last four digits of the mobile number. That's all I've got. The location is Monterey, California.
Oh, okay. Good golf courses there.
So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Pilgrims, if you're from Monterey, California with a mobile phone number ending in 0395, then this is to you or from you, as it would potentially be. He says, hi, Steve and Andy. Good start. I'm currently an American golfer. That's an interesting start because does this mean previously been some other type of golfer or in the future maybe another type of golfer?
Yeah,
Sure.
maybe. Maybe.
Says, I'm currently an American golfer who has turned 40 years old this year. Happy birthday, Monterey. Over the last 6 years, during a transition out of a military career, I
Cool.
fell in love with golf.
Mm.
Very good. Uh, Competition, golf competition with others and competition with myself. Yes. That's really what golf's all about, isn't it?
It is.
During this time, I've progressed from a brand new handicap index to a 12. That
Nice.
sounds quite good.
Mm.
Your mission connects with me. I do not want to waste my prime years or go quietly into middle age with a mediocre game. I love this.
That's
This
great.
is so
Yeah.
good. My dream is to be qualified to enter a USGA US Open qualifier or a mid-am.
That's a pretty lofty goal. I mean, very different to what we're facing in getting into senior amateur tournaments and the like, because there's, well, certainly US Open, it's qualifying upon qualifying upon
Well, this is a US
qualifying.
Open qualifier.
Yeah, yeah.
So not necessarily going straight for the big dog
Yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
away. But honestly, Andy Walker, small dreams inspire nobody. Aim
Well, that is
high
true.
or forget about it. So I like this. It says, or a mid-amp. He says, that said, I know this will be unbelievable and hard. Correct. What advice would you offer to a player in my position and stage of life who has similar goals? Let me know if this line of conversation interests you. I'd be happy to chat. Good luck with your journey. First thing I would say is it's pilgrimage. So let's just get that straight. Because as we've identified, journeys are good, but journeys can be a little bit linear.
Mm.
Pilgrimages, it's all about the people that you meet along the way, like 0395 from Monterey, California. So,
Mm.
Andy Walker, What advice would you give?
Oh, look, I think that, and we've sort of covered a little bit of it, sort of in the first few minutes of this episode, is like persistence, determination,
Mm, mm,
persistence.
mm, mm.
Just don't give up. Like, yeah, you're going to have some hard times. You're going to maybe have some injuries. I've done that over
Sure.
the last few months, but just don't give up. Like you've got a lot of resources out there, and so many more resources than what I ever had sort of 30 years ago when I was playing a lot. Um, but there's a lot of resources out there. There's some great information. Engage with people who know. I mean, you're talking about the likes of John Weir, a mental golf type. You're talking about the types like Michael Leonard, Josh Nichols, Sasha McKenzie with the stack, John Sherman.
John
These
Sherman.
guys, go and get the information that these guys are putting out, and follow their advice, because I mean that's been our pilgrimage, and what we've done, and we've persisted with it, and look where we are. I mean, I
50
couldn't
episodes
have.
deep.
Yeah, well, and again, I mean, I couldn't have imagined, from where I started 12 months ago to have the range of sort of experiences that I've had over the last 12 months, uh, golfing, and just talking to some amazing people. So yeah, just don't give up. Just one foot in front of the other. It's going to be tough, but keep going.
It's good advice. I'm going to throw one other thing in there. Get a club fitting if you haven't done so already.
Hmm, definitely.
I think the value of that cannot be overstated. Uh, I need to follow this advice as well, but get a coach. It's probably a good thing to do.
Hmm.
But I think you're spot on, Andy Walker. I think they hang in there. They don't give up. Keep grinding. The fact that it's not linear, like you'll have weeks where you feel like you're making progress, and you'll have weeks where you feel like you've gone backwards and you've got all the
Hmm.
questions and none of the answers, and that's all part of the journey. So, not that we really have all the answers because
No,
we haven't won
got
anything
plenty.
yet.
Got plenty of questions. But even when we do win something, I mean, we're still not going to have all the answers.
No,
And there is, and it sort of sounds a little bit sort of cliched these days, but having the mindset of, there's no failure, it's only learning. You
win,
know,
learn.
yeah,
Oh, look, it's a good point though. It's the growth mindset, right? Like,
yeah, it is.
we talk about that a lot, and it's so important. growth mindset over a fixed mindset. Like it's amazing what you can achieve with a bit of hard graft and not giving
Grit.
up. Grit is a good word,
Mm.
one of our favorite words.
Yes.
That was a good message. I do have another one, and I think you're going to enjoy it. It's a bit more light-hearted, shall we say? This one, I don't know if this is a real name. It's from someone called Danny from California,
Right. Why
reminiscent of
wouldn't
red,
why wouldn't it
reminiscent
be?
of 1990s Red Hot Chili Peppers, Danny, California. Sorry, Danny, if that is in fact your real name.
Mm.
Anyway, Danny says, if you are as golf obsessed as me, you'll probably find yourself shadow practicing your golf swing in all sorts of locations.
Absolutely. 100%, Danny. That is me all over. And when I'm not shadow practicing in my golf swing, I'm mentally practicing my golf swing.
Okay,
I
gets
can,
better.
yeah.
Gets better. Danny goes on to say, which locations from this list can you tick off? Give yourself a point for each one.
Mm.
Pilgrims play along at home. And he also says, note, even abbreviated swings or grip slash stance slash weight shift rehearsals count.
Yep.
So, are you ready?
Yep.
I'm actually going to mark this as we go. That's the sound of grabbing a bit of paper, moving the screwdriver off the desk. All right, so here we go.
Why do you have a screwdriver on your desk? I mean,
Tightening
that's pretty
screws, Andy
that's
Walker.
that's pretty random.
Tightening screws.
Er, er, er.
Come back to that.
Okay.
Anyway, here's the list. Tick them off. Give yourself a point if you have ever been guilty of rehearsing your swing in full or part in these situations. Firstly, on the sidelines of your kids' sport.
Yes.
Yes. I'll mark us down for a point each. Uh, anytime holding an unopened umbrella. Well, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like,
there we go. We're 2 for 2. Um, in the queue to order or receive a coffee.
yep.
Yep, same. Probably did that this morning, actually.
Mm.
Um, in the shower.
Yes,
It's a yes from me.
definitely. And
Oh,
other
well.
places in the bathroom.
Awesome. I love this. Um, in the kitchen. Yep,
Yes. In
yep.
fact, before we started recording tonight, I was actually watching myself in the window reflection.
Oh, that's so
So
good.
that was maybe 10 minutes ago.
This one it's thrown me a little bit. In bed. I don't even know how you would. I'm
I don't know.
not sure about that.
I'd
I don't think
say
so.
I'd
I don't
say
think so.
probably not.
I
No,
don't think
I,
so.
I
I
don't.
can't imagine a time when I
I
have
mean, mentally, yes, going through my golf routine and golf swing in bed, but
physically shadow practicing.
no, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Scratch that one. Sorry, Danny. This is a two-parter. In an elevator alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite part. In an elevator with others.
I would probably say yes to that.
It's a yes.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. Oh, that is too funny. Um, whilst a passenger in a car,
Yeah. Sure.
for sure. And part B, whilst driving a car, also yes.
Yeah, on like, uh, probably on the steering wheel. Like
Yeah,
I've,
see, I know that I have because being left-handed as well, with my left hand being the bottom hand, and right-hand drive cars in Australia, driving along and just the one hand kind of doing little bits and sitting there, and the young man in the passenger seat or the back seat is like, "Dad, are you practicing your golf swing?" I'm like, yes.
Can you hold the steering wheel, please, Dad?
Trying to get a full turn.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so much fun. Hang on, where are we? So was that a no for you or a
I'm going to stick that in the no basket for me. I don't think
okay?
I don't remember actually having either taken my grip or shadow swung whilst
Whilst
driving.
driving a car.
No,
It's probably not recommended as good
no.
practice, but I promise you, by the end of the week, you'll have done it because now it's in your head. Um, Here we go. In a work meeting, 100%.
Well, certainly in a Zoom work meeting, yes.
It will count.
Yeah. In fact, I'm doing it sort of now. During a podcast.
That's not on the list, but I mean, it goes without saying. Um, Here's another one. Oh, this is a good one. In a job interview.
I no. I
Oh,
mean,
it's a long time since I've done a job interview.
yeah, I haven't had a job interview.
I'm going to say
Wow,
no.
when was the last time I did a job interview? I reckon my last job interview was
Would have been in the early
probably
2000s, surely.
no. I briefly in between my first and second business, I got a job for a couple of months and hated it and quit. But I did go for a job interview then, and I can guarantee I wouldn't have at that point. So I'm going to say no to
I'm going
that.
to say no. I don't reckon I have. Unless it counts when you're in the waiting room before you go into the job interview.
Mm.
Don't, but that's not specifically what he's saying. He's saying in a job interview. No. Um, in the grocery store or supermarket,
Yeah.
100%. Every time. I mean, what else are you going to do when you're at the queue for the checkout? Um, in the doctor's waiting room.
Ooh.
I don't know, but I reckon I would have. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but
Just feels like an environment where I'd at least practice a bit of grip or weight shift or something. Can't imagine why you wouldn't.
yeah. In fact, no, I'm actually going to say no to that. I don't reckon I
I'm
would
not sure
have.
you're telling the truth. You got to wait a long time
Mm.
in a swimming pool.
I'm going to say yes to that because
You've got a
I
swimming
reckon I
pool.
probably have. Yeah,
I know that this and I would add to this is not on the list in a spa or hot tub slash jacuzzi, 100%. And the last one, Andy Walker, I'm going to back you in for a yes at the beach.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
without a doubt. That was a fantastic question, Danny from California. Well done. I scored 14. You scored 12.
Mm.
And I think that was out of a possible 15 or 16 scenarios.
Mm.
And I reckon we could add to that.
Yeah. Mm.
Keep them coming, Pilgrims. That was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So, Andy Walker, 23 minutes into our 50th episode. What are we going to talk about? What are we here for?
Look, I think this should be a bit of a look back celebration of where we've gone over the last 50 episodes. I mean, there's certainly some highlights that we could throw in. I mean, I guess we could sort of name our top five, not
Top five
necessarily
moments?
episodes, but the top five um, things that you've got out of the last 50 episodes. And then maybe, some notable mentions, because I know there's a lot of notable mentions that I could come up with, but certainly, yeah, would be interested to see and hear your top five.
Mm. It's amazing you asked that because I have actually done a top five moments of the last 50
Wow,
shows.
that's that's coincidental, isn't it?
It is, or words to that effect. Um, so, yeah, happy to go through that if you
All
would
right.
like.
Yeah.
Um, so, going through my top five, I'll probably start at sixth.
Okay.
And in sixth, the reason I put a six is I just want to do a shout out to every single guest that we've had on the show.
Yep.
Some will be mentioned in the top five, but you can't squeeze them all in because there's been too many. But to every single guest that we have had on the show, we thoroughly appreciate you coming on and giving your time, knowledge, information, entertainment value to us and to the Pilgrims. So let's put that out there as my number six. So moving into the top five. In fifth place, Andy Walker. In fifth place, I would rate the Neil Smith interview, which was back in episode 12,
Yep.
specifically the bit in it when he told me about holding myself accountable to a mental scorecard.
Mm. Yep.
Because the single biggest difference, like is one of the single things that's made the biggest difference to my game. So yeah, absolutely put that in there as fifth.
Yeah. And look, there were so many good things that came out of that. I mean, that was really the start of our mental journey, really. I mean, we did talk about it, I think, maybe an episode or two beforehand, because we realized that maybe that was one thing that we needed to focus on and start to get a bit of competence in. But he was the one who really started that journey down into the mental game and just you
Yep,
know how important it is to be able to play good golf.
it was. We had done a mental episode in episode 9.
Yes.
Um, but that was our musings on the mental game. And I think if we were to listen back to that now, we might critique our own knowledge just a little with everything that we've learned. So yeah,
Yes.
that was my number 5, was the Neil Smith interview, and learning that, that how to actually focus for every shot and how to hold yourself accountable to focus for every shot. Because as ridiculous as it sounds and as obvious as the concept is, it had never really been at the forefront of what I had done. And
Mm.
again, the difference between thinking that you're concentrating and actually concentrating, a la Steve Waugh from the 1990s,
Yep.
is a very big difference at times.
Mm. Mm.
So, did you want to share your fifth and we march down, or do you want me to run through the top five
Yeah.
again?
So my fifth, similar to yours, in that is a mental game point, and that really is getting into the mental golf type. We interviewed John Weir
Yeah, I would have
in
thought you would have had that higher than fifth, but okay.
yeah. No, look, it was I think the mental golf type has just given me a much deeper, a much better understanding of my own game, where what my traits are, what I need to work with, not necessarily work on, but work with,
Mm.
for my personality type, and that's been I think a critical part of the journey, a critical part of the pilgrimage to be able to get to where I am right now.
No, I think that's a really good one. The mental golf types definitely helped a huge amount. And I actually think it's the understanding yourself so that you can understand how you are likely to react in other situations that happen on the course. And for me, it
Yep.
was understanding the fact that my golf personality type was really attuned to externalizing things and
Yep.
and picking up on the external cues, and that's where behavior of playing partners, noises, comments that are made, all those sorts of things would affect me more than it would you as a more introverted personality type, where you can lock
Mm.
into your own little bubble a little bit more. I find it more difficult to lock into a bubble because I'm kind of accepting all of that external stimulus. But understanding that actually let me deal with that so much better, so that it wasn't controlling me, but I could accept that it was there and it was something
Mm.
that I would pay attention to. And rather than getting cranky going, don't pay attention to it because you're obviously not concentrating hard enough, I would accept that that was actually natural for me, and that helped enormously.
Yep. Yeah. And even to a point where, I mean, when the limited amount of mental golf training I had in the 90s was, it was a one size fits all.
Mm.
This is what you did for your mental game. And even when I was reading some of Bob Rotella's stuff, which was his books were written, or a few of his initial books were written in the 1990s. That's part of it. It's a one size fits all. This works best for your mental game. Whereas I think John Weir has sort of pioneered the individual approach, and what works for me, is not going to work for you, even to a point where I'm an introvert, you're an extrovert. I mean, we just have completely different
Totally
approaches
opposite.
for our mental game. So that to me was just changed my perspective and just gave me a much deeper understanding of what I need to work with in my mental game.
Absolutely. Also, something else that I would add is that it's, you talk about working at it and, building those skills. It is a skill set. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things. And what that means is that you can develop it and you can improve it. Because I think back, as you say, looking back on early years of playing golf when there wasn't that much knowledge around this topic, I look back to, sort of in my cricket playing days. And it was one of those things where you were either considered mentally strong or you weren't,
Mm.
so, you were, and maybe it's people who choke or they're just not good in the big moments, or you know, bowlers and fielding sides are able to get under their skin more easily. And so they were considered mentally weak versus those that were mentally strong. And it was one of those things that you were one or the other. It wasn't
Yep.
understood that there's a spectrum that you could move from one to the other, and it might even vary at different times on different days.
Mm.
So, or that it was a skill set that you could work on if you had the right knowledge and you did the right activity. So that's been a massive eye opener, and just
Mm.
understanding that what behaviors would you make you mentally stronger would not work for me, and vice versa.
Yep.
So it is very much based on the individual. So the upshot of that, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already, um, jump onto the mental golf type and do your mental golf fitting, and learn a little bit about yourself. It's fascinating.
Mm.
Good one. What have you got for number 4, Andy Walker?
My number four is really the culmination from when we started to getting to about April, where I was able to put together all of that knowledge that I'd acquired during that time to be able to go out and shoot that 2 under par round at the end of April. Now, I played some pretty ordinary golf at the start of the year. Then I went through a phase where I was playing good golf throughout the round, but then at the end, sort of just
Mm,
losing a few shots.
mm,
But then got to a point at the end of April where I birdied 3 out of the last 5 holes to bring it home for a 2 under par, and not having shot under par for 30 odd years. That to me was I guess the power of what we're doing, and the pilgrimage we're on, and the fact that I did it so quickly, I guess a lot quicker than what I thought I was gonna do it was pretty cool. And then a few weeks after that, uh, starting my senior amateur journey and coming fourth in my first event,
mm.
I think sort of those two, that proved to me that okay, this is what I need to be able to do in this time frame to get my game on track to some serious golf improvement. So that's been a pretty cool journey.
It's awesome. And Pilgrims, we have not, prior to this episode, compared our top 5 lists as well, which is
No.
worth mentioning. So you're hearing it and I'm hearing it from each other for the first time. My number 4 moment, Andy Walker in the Missing Links Golf Show's first 50 episodes, my number 4 moment took place in episode 27, which was called This Is Huge. And that was the telling of the story of when Andy Walker shot 2 under par.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So how about that?
Nice, nice. I like it.
For all of the reasons that you just talked about.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
And it was such a big deal. And I was reading back through the little blurbs for each of the episodes as well. And it said something like, this has changed the feel of the show forever.
Mm.
I think
Yep.
that's true. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah. And
Um,
look, I think that because I think you've had I mean, yes, you haven't shot under par, but you've had your own moments. I mean, you shot 4 over, which is your best
my best
score.
ever round. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, that to me, from where you've started back in October, for you to shoot, 4 over, I mean, that's a pretty significant improvement
It's
to
ridiculous.
yeah, to go from what you're playing off what 10 or 11 was it? Or it might have been
When
12
the
when
show
we started?
when the show started, I think I was at 10.1 or something like that.
Mm,
Um,
yep.
yeah, yeah. But not long before that was at 12.
Yeah.
And not long before that was at about 15. So
Mm,
yeah, that's absolutely shift. And look, I look now at where my game is at and where my understanding of golf is at, probably more importantly,
yep.
um, versus what it was, just before the show started, or even as early on in the show. It's chalk and cheese, Andy Walker. Really
Mm,
is. It's come
yep.
a long way. And I actually truly think that scores will follow that. I've been less fixated on scores over the last 6 months because when I had that epiphany of trying to chase single digits, of going, I wanted to get a single digit handicap because that would make me feel like a better player rather than going, I want to be a better player. So then I'll
Yep.
have a better
Yes.
handicap. So
Yep.
it's that whole getting your priorities lined up in the right order, which
Mm,
I think we're all guilty of at certain points. And that, I guess, is a macro view of the outcome thinking versus process thinking and
yes.
actually doing the
Mm,
work and doing the graft rather than just wanting the outcome.
mm.
Wow. There we go. So number three, it's probably back to me. Number three, my number three moment of the Missing Links Golf Show first 50 episodes actually would be the interview with John Sherman.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, John, I've said a number of times, John was the start of my
Mm.
awakening, I guess, of how to play the modern game. So, yeah, that was a pretty cool episode.
It was amazing. Like after reading, and it was a while ago now, it was more than a year ago when I read his first book, The Four Foundations of Golf, which I've got to be honest, I still rate as the best golf book out there. I know a lot of
Yep.
people will be shouting other titles, but I honestly challenge you to come up with something that is as effective to dropping your shot, like dropping your scores, dropping shots through some really clearly articulated and well thought through strategies about golf.
Mm.
I just think he's put that body of work together brilliantly,
Yep.
and it's a fantastic read, and it's easy to read as well. It's not one of those ones that's too complex that kind of you know cure insomnia. It's actually easy to read, quite enjoyable. It's a lot of personal stories from him.
Mm.
I
Mm.
just think it's fantastic. I had been looking forward to getting him on the show since day one, and I was so happy about the fact that he finally agreed to come on and be a guest on your
Yep.
show.
Mm. Mm. Cool.
So that's my number three. Your number three, Andy Walker.
My number three was a particular episode. And that was the episode where we caught up with Scotty Fisher. Now, Scotty
Mm.
Fisher, we had some phenomenal times playing golf in through the mid 90s when we were both members of New South Wales Golf Club. We were both playing pennants and playing seriously. It well, I shouldn't say playing seriously anymore because I did commit
Because
to
now
not
you are
saying
again.
I'm back to playing
It's
seriously.
it's okay. It's okay to say that you're playing seriously. Then, so long as you acknowledge that you're playing seriously again now.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so the connection that I have with Scotty Fisher and just going back and reliving some of those memories with him and reminding each other of those experience that we had. That was a really cool moment for me. I mean, what I've known Scott for 35 years or so. And I mean, he was my best man at my wedding. And yeah, lots of great memories with him. So yeah, that's definitely a highlight for me.
Ooh, I agree. I would have loved to have been able to squeeze it into my top five, but that's why I put all of the guests together as my number six. Um, And Scotty's interview definitely was up there. And yeah, totally agree. And the fact that shortly after that he was also prepared to give me a few swing tips via video,
Yes.
which made a massive difference. Like the guy's got an eye for a golf swing.
Yeah.
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 You know,
Yeah.
he could see from one 3 second swing video, basically diagnose all of the flaws of the things that I was doing wrong, even though it was a side on video just because of a rock back
Yep.
onto my back foot after impact. And he was spot on.
Mm.
And I would say the differences that I've been able to make on ball striking, both off the tee and with irons, is 100% related to that advice that Scotty provided. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And he has I've had quite a few conversations with him since then. And he says that when he watches someone play golf in real time, he actually sees their golf swing in slow motion.
yeah,
And
that's
that
just
that to
weird.
me, it's hard to get my head around that concept, but that's what he said he does. He can just pick stuff up as if they're swinging in slow motion, which is a pretty rare feat. I think I don't think there'd be many people out there that could that have that ability to be able to pinpoint um, not swing flaws, but traits
It's
in real
traits.
time.
I think that's exactly what it is. But at the same time, like you know, different sport, but there's in every sport, there's mechanics which go on, and the deeper that you get into it, obviously, the more that you know. And Scotty's obviously someone that intimately understands the technique of the golf swing, so he can see that, and he's seen so many
Yeah.
golf swings in his life that he can see that. And
Yep.
I mean, you probably would have the same thing, that there'd be people, that watch baseball that would be able to diagnose batters' flaws just by
Yeah, for
looking at the
sure.
way that they
Mm.
hold the bat or take the backswing. I mean, I know I can do that with a cricket, with batsmen in cricket.
Yep.
I can have a look at even, looking at the way that they pick it up and hang on to it. I know where they're likely to get out just by the way that they're holding the bat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's all those sorts of things. So I think the more that you are involved in a particular sport at a decent level for a long time,
Mm.
you're obviously going to pick that up. But I mean, the golf swing, that's not my thing. I'm learning a lot more about it, granted,
Yep.
but and I have to say, during this journey, I can see other people on the golf course and kind of go, oh, right, that's a bit of an inside takeaway. I can see that's going to come over the
Mm.
top and some of those sorts of things. So that you start to learn a little bit more, but nowhere near the level of what Scotty's at.
Yep.
Um, but no, that's a good one. Um, so that was your number three, yeah. So what's your number two?
Number two, it was
And I'm
actually
curious, before we
the
get to this, I'm curious if we've got the same one and two, and I feel that it's
I,
possible.
I don't think we do,
Okay.
because yeah, well, let's just go through them, but I'd be
Yeah.
shocked if
Okay.
this one's in your top two.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Because my number two is actually the episode before the Scotty Fisher interview, and that's episode 14, Even Par.
Oh,
When
that's a cracker.
when we talked
So
about Ted
good.
from Mollymook,
Yeah.
having at the age of
Yeah.
82, not far away
Yeah.
from 83,
Yeah.
um, going out and shooting even par over 9 holes for
Yeah.
the first time in his life. Now, for any of the pilgrims who don't know, Ted from Mollymook is actually my father.
Yeah. It's
So to
amazing.
be able to go through that with my dad, now he does credit with listening to the show and us talking about our own games, with providing him with a base to be able to think about his own game as well, and learn. And he's now
How good
read
is
John
that?
Sherman's Four Foundations of Golf, and
That's
uh,
amazing.
it's to be able to share that with him,
Mm.
and to have that result, maybe not as a direct result of listening to our show, but certainly having a pretty big influence in his game. And he now goes out and he enjoys the game more. He engages with the game more. I think that to me, to be able to share that with my dad, and to have him come along, on this pilgrimage, has been yeah, a definite highlight.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I feel like that needs some inspirational music in the background. See, see what our production team can come up with. Wow. So my number two moment in the first 50 episodes is actually was episode 29, which might have been considered a bonus episode by some. And that was the episode
Mm,
when we joined Josh Nichols on his show.
yep.
And the reason that that figures at number two is because that was less a golf conversation and more three guys talking about life, parenting,
Mm.
work, and the juggle.
A bloke conversation is what it was.
And one of the ones that is just so necessary and so seldom had,
Mm,
but also seems to have struck a chord with so many people
yep.
and actually become the reason why a lot of the pilgrims became pilgrims of our show after hearing that conversation on Josh's show.
Mm,
And Josh also points out that that's the episode that's had the most positive feedback of any of the episodes that he's put out, which is outrageous because he's released what 300 or so
yep.
episodes, yeah,
Yep.
with some incredible
Mm,
guests that know far more than what we do. But that one was really raw and really honest, and really cool because of that. And if that goes so far as just to help one or two people work their way through some difficult things,
yep.
then that's pretty hard to beat, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, and that was one of the, I guess, one of the most meaningful conversations I've had with a couple of blokes. I mean, to get, you know, p- people or blokes specifically see vulnerability as weakness,
Mm,
and vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is actually strength, and you need
mm,
to be vulnerable, I think, to have a healthy mindset and to look after your mental health. And I think looking after your mental health is just as important as looking after your physical health.
mm.
We exercise, we go to the gym, we run and play golf and do all these activities to look after our physical health. Looking after our mental health is just as, if not more important than looking after our physical health, because that's what drives our
Yeah,
happiness. It
yeah,
drives our relationships. It with other blokes, but also with partners, wives, relatives, kids, friends. It's such an important part of life, I think, to be able to look after that side.
I could not agree more. Uh, yeah, I just think it was amazing to have had the opportunity to have kind of engaged in that conversation and
Mm.
potentially got that message out there to a broader audience, which was not why we started this in the first place, but
No.
seems to have become more and more a common thread, and one of those things that many of the pilgrims, many of you that have sent us messages and emails and Facebook comments and some of those sorts of things. This message has actually been one that struck a chord with a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. There's a lot of golf podcasts out there which are, say professionals or ex-professionals or wannabe professionals that are talking about swing advice and technical advice and that sort of stuff. That's awesome. I listen to a lot of them and I actually get a lot of good information. Then there's a lot of other ones which are commentary on the professional game and like that are just conversations about what happened in the last PGA Tour event on the weekend and some of those sorts of things that you might put in the bracket of entertainment based podcasts. And again, thoroughly enjoy them. There's
Mm.
there's quite a
Mm.
few that I listen to and really enjoy the crack and the humor.
Yep.
And I think what's a little bit different about what we've put together, not really with any science or genius behind it, but just more by accident, has been we're not trying to tell people how to play the game. We have guests do that for us. Um, but we're just exploring it ourselves, and people maybe see a little bit of a reflection of that when they're
Mm.
when they're listening. And that's not just the game of golf, but that's how it impacts on everything in life, from work to relationships to the sport. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. All right. Number one moment in the first 50 episodes, Andy Walker? I feel like we need a drum roll.
Can't hear anything.
No.
You're trying to do that on your desk.
Yeah, maybe I need the
That
screwdriver again.
the the noise cancelling microphone
I
may
know.
work too well.
They're quite effective. Nevertheless, I'm sure we can insert a drum roll. Drum roll, please. Hopefully, our production team can take care of that.
Excellent.
So my number one moment across the first 50 episodes, Andy Walker, happened in episode 23, and it was the Macquarie Cup episode where you travelled out to the beautiful fairways of Royal Dubbo Golf Club to take part in that 36-hole event, and it was an awesome weekend. It was our first proper tournament that we'd actually played in,
Yep.
certainly within this show and together. And for it to go down to the wire the way that it did,
Yep.
um, was incredible. And to have one of the Pilgrims there sharing that on day two with us, Alex from Dubbo, was just awesome. Like that was one of the best weekends, one of the most enjoyable weekends. And I really, really, yeah, very, very thankful for having had that opportunity. So
Yep.
that was my number one.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, that weekend, there were so many random things that happened during that
It was crazy.
weekend as well. I
Really
mean,
was.
that ball of mine that got stuck up in the tree on the third, and the
Which, if you're
footage
watching
we've
this on
got from that.
YouTube, that is the one in the opening credits. Yeah,
Like I literally have never had that happen to me before.
that was insane.
And for that to happen during our first,
Mm.
well, our first tournament together. I mean, we did play in the Missing Links Masters last year, but that was
Yes,
our first. The Macquarie Cup was our first actual
first
tournament.
formal tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, together. Um, yeah, I think that was pretty cool, and for it to end the way it did, the battle, the to and fro
Oh,
between the two of us was, yeah,
was was
unexpected,
was
but
was
it
awesome.
was,
It
yeah,
was so
something
good.
that was pretty cool in the journey.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. So that was my number one. What do you got?
Well, my number one, and I've sort of gone a little bit outside the framework for
Oh
this,
no.
um, in that it's not really a moment, more of a series of moments, and that's actually catching up with a mate each week,
Oh, Andy Walker.
doing do
What else
it.
are you doing outside of the show that I don't know about?
But seriously, like catching up with a mate each week, and when we say that it is two blokes just having a chat each week, that's what it is.
Mm.
It's holding ourselves accountable, being able to share our experiences in this great game, um, and just, I mean, look, we've always been pretty close ever since we met sort of 24, 25 years ago. I mean, you're in my bridal party,
Mm.
at my wedding, I was in yours.
Mm.
Um, but to then take that and bring this to it has just been a pretty phenomenal time in my life. So,
Sure has.
thank you. And, I'm looking at you on a Zoom
I know.
screen, and you probably can't see
This
this
is
in
this is awkward,
in
Pilgrims.
podcast land, but certainly, yeah, that just each week catching up with a mate and sharing this experience has just been, something that I'll always look back on, and regardless of whether, this ends, well, hopefully it won't end next week, but whether it ends next week or in 10 years time, it's something that we'll be able to look back on, and hopefully our kids will sort of listen to it as well, and be able to go, hey, they did something pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's very cool. Can't believe I didn't think of that as well. It's disappointing. Yeah.
But it's actually quite interesting that, when I was looking back at the top five, I was so looking at, stuff we've done,
Yeah.
but really the most important things to me are the relationships, and the relationships that, I already had, with yourself, with Scotty Fisher, with my dad, and being able to include everyone in this
Mm,
experience
mm,
that we're going through,
mm.
and for them to be able to put their own um, not spin on it, but their own experience into this to make the show what it is. That to me is the best part of what we're doing.
I absolutely agree with you on that. And I would go so far as to say as well, something that's been really cool that's come out of it is some of the people that we've met along the way.
Mm,
Um, and that's, yes, the guests that we've had on the show that have been amazing. And they've been people, generally speaking, that we have seeked to invite onto the show because of, whatever particular area of expertise they've got. But it's also been the Pilgrims, some of the some of the people out there that have consistently reached out and sent messages and got in touch that, even though we haven't met them in person, I'd
mm.
consider them as friends,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
and having Mick Patterson on the show recently was awesome. I mean, what a great story that
Yeah.
Mick told. And like another guy that's doing the same stuff, going through the same sorts of things.
Mm,
Some of the other pilgrims, and I know I'll forget some, but Aris from Georgia, whose messages on countless occasions and, just drops hilarious posts in the Facebook group.
mm.
Obviously, referencing Ripper GC's fantastic victory over the
Yep.
weekend and things like that, just to name one. That's really cool. Um, RG
But
Toon McFan from County Donegal.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool.
And just doing a little bit of research around where some of the pilgrims are from.
Yeah,
I mean, has been really, really great. And again, sort of coming out to Dubbo, and there's Alex from Dubbo. I mean, playing with him
yeah,
in the second round, and
yeah.
having a good chat about all things golf and the podcast and what he's doing. Actually, to meet him in person, I mean, that was just, yeah,
That was
that's
cool.
phenomenal.
That was cool. Jason Butt also doing club
Yep.
fittings. And spoiler alert, we may be getting Jason back on the show in the not too distant future to talk about another club fitting
Mm,
experience that happened recently. But that's been really fun. Um, so I feel like on both those sides that it's been great to have the ability to bring some people that we have known into the
mm.
show. Dashingly handsome PE teacher from Sydney, as an example, who hasn't been on the show, but we've talked about him in almost every episode.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Was a catalyst
David
for some of the
McClelland
Dave
as well.
DMC legend, um, as well as some of those that we've met along the way that I think will continue to be in contact with for many, many years to come,
Mm.
which is also exciting. And I would love one day to have the opportunity where we could actually get everyone together, new friends and old friends, and have a golf day somewhere in the world. I
Yeah.
think that's something that we absolutely want to work towards. Maybe that's what we aim for our 100th episode, Andy Walker. That
Mm.
it's a genuine Missing Links Masters tournament. That would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
cool.
Yep. Yep. No, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be fun. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to be thankful for. We've had the opportunity to do this, and we didn't care if we were doing it for absolutely no one to listen to, but for our own entertainment. But it's been nice that there's people in all sorts of places, crazy
Mm.
places around the world
Mm.
that are happy to listen to two Aussie blokes just bang on about their own very random and very ordinary golf experiences of a weekend.
But that's just golf in general, isn't it? That's most
Yeah.
people's experience. You talk to any number of golfers that are out there on the weekend, and they're having the same issues, the same challenges in life, the same ups and downs and roller coaster of playing this
Mm,
great
mm,
game that
mm.
that we all love so, and sometimes hate.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly right.
But if I can just maybe there's a couple of sort of notable mentions that I'd like to sort of go through, and I think we need to start at episode one, and the way that I eloquently put that the Missing Links Golf Show is all about finding the links that are missing, and I think that set the standard of how articulate we we're
Oh,
going to be on the
just
show.
that was fantastic. And I mean, looking back on episode one, gee, We really knew what we were doing, didn't we?
Yeah, we were trying to find the links that are missing. Like that was it,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't make a habit of listening to that episode too often because it can get cringy. Um,
But
but you got to
also,
start. You got to start somewhere.
yeah, but we briefly talked about David McCullough. Now, David, I've probably known from a golfing perspective longer than anyone
Mm,
that I've got a relationship with. Because it's about probably 40 years I've known David. Before David beat me in a playoff for the Mollymook Golf Club Championships when I was 14 in
mm,
1986. And for him to come on the show a couple of times, talk about all things senior amateur and what he does and what events to target. Um, Come up with the short
short
game
game.
quote, which is right up his alley. He's very old school, so and he's just got a phenomenal short game. So yeah,
And he's
he's
not
always
wrong.
been.
Like he's
Yeah.
honestly not. He's not wrong by any stretch. I mean, we have had that conversation ad nauseum about where you can drop more shots more easily, long game or
Mm.
short game. But at the end of the day, you got to get the ball in the hole.
Yeah, exactly. I also still look back on my conversation with Michael, or our conversation with Michael Leonard, in that I still engage with Mike. He's got a lot of really good material out there, and I joined his program, and I still sort of go to his monthly webinars and catch up with him once a month. I think that's definitely been a highlight. The Sasho McKenzie
Mm.
episode, which was effectively a solo episode for myself. When you couldn't talk, that
I
was
was in a world of hurt that week. Oh man, and so disappointing because a bit like John Sherman, I've been so looking forward to getting Sasho on the show.
yeah. I mean, we'd worked on that for a long time.
Yeah.
Like I think I first reached out to Sasha back in, I don't know, it was probably February would have been, and it took us sort of 3 or 4 months to actually get him on the show.
Mm.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
was
That was
good
heartbreaking.
timing. Good
Was
timing.
struck down by COVID,
Yeah, and
the spicy flu.
the last one that I want to mention is my little incident early in the show where I shanked my
Yeah.
back against my G80. That was
Yeah.
that
I had that on my list actually for quite a
I
while.
don't know if it's a highlight, but
It's a
it
low
was
light. If we had the top five low lights, that's right up there.
but
Actually, if I was just
I
going to
cannot.
rat, yeah,
I can honestly say that the Garmin G80 doesn't fly particularly well
no,
from
no.
a stack swing.
Would you call it a? Is it a distance launch monitor or is it
No,
more a
it
high
definitely wasn't.
spin?
Yeah, it was very close to a shank. So the shanks come up quite often on the show, and it certainly fits into that category of shank.
Speaking of shanks, if you haven't been on our Facebook page in a while, then I thoroughly recommend you go on there and check one out from the High Performance Centre Central West.
Yes.
Um, yeah, no, it's. I mean, look, if we were going to go a top five low lights, definitely the shanking of the G80s up there. I think my 11 on the par 5 12th after a two over front nine is probably
Yep.
right up there.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a few. There's definitely a few. But Andy Walker, 50 episodes, definitely worth celebrating. We're not done yet though.
No.
It's possibly the longest season one in podcast history.
That's right. We're in a perpetual season one, aren't we?
When Pilgrims, we don't know how to move on to season two. We don't know when the right time is. It doesn't feel like it is yet. But who knows? Maybe some point in the future, or we might just go season one forever. I don't know.
Maybe.
Um,
I mean, we are going to have to, and this is something we need to think about over the next 6 months. What our title is going to be, because there's not going to be two blokes either side of 50, for in about 6 months' time.
that's true. That's
So
okay.
we're gonna have to work on that.
Yeah, two blokes in their early 50s, I'd say, would be the logical move. Um, but that, I mean, look, there's a lot to come. We've got some really exciting episodes coming up. We've
Mm,
got a few guests coming on the show as well in the next couple of episodes, which are going to be very, very exciting, very different to anything that we've had before, and
mm.
very different to each other.
Yes.
And then beyond that, who knows? It's onwards or upwards. We've hopefully got some tournament golf to talk about a little bit later in the year.
Yep.
As we move into summer, hopefully there is a lot more golf content both to talk about, but also potentially to film some and get that on the YouTube channel. No promises because our technical setup is somewhat limited, um, but you never know. Might be able to pull something together, and I think as well it'd be great to hear from the Pilgrims if you've got any ideas for who we should target as guests and get on the show. Minwoo Lee, if you're listening, there's always a spot there for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I think here's to another 50 episodes, Andy Walker.
Yes, for sure. For sure. And I think that from where we are now, certainly come February next year and beyond,
Mm,
it's going to be a hell of a ride because that's when we both can enter senior amateur tournaments,
and that is
and
exciting.
yeah, that's going to be very exciting. So I'm really looking forward to 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a bit of work to do between now and then. I need to get the handicap down just a little bit further to make sure that entry into those tournaments is a given. But I'm sure that will happen all in
Yeah,
a good time.
yeah. I
Focus
mean, I
on the
think
process.
the standard of golf that I've seen in the normal run of the mill senior amateur events, I don't think you can have too many dramas getting into that. But certainly the bigger ones, yeah,
Mm,
you need to sort of get down into the low single figures.
mm.
But we've got time to work on that.
We do, and I am on the verge of appointing a coach.
Ooh, ooh, big move.
Mm. Fellow left-hander.
Nice, nice. Well, it's always good to have someone who sees the world in the same viewpoint as what you do.
And we have
Think,
talked a lot before about, left hand, left foot, right hip, right shoulder, all that sort of gear that
mm,
I live in a world of constant translation. So it'd be nice to get coached by someone that speaks the same language.
yes, yes. Interestingly, though, and this was one of the guests who is also a fellow left-hander, Sasha McKenzie, does talks very much lead foot, rear foot,
Mm.
does not talk left hand or right hand specific, which yeah, I learned a few lessons out of that.
All you right-handers could learn a lot from Sasha. Anyway, we digress. But that's all what's coming up. There's a lot to come in the next 50 episodes, Pilgrims. We hope you've enjoyed it this far. We have, and we're going to continue. To be perfectly honest, we're going to continue regardless of whether anyone listens, because that's been the approach that we've taken from the first episode, anyhow.
That's exactly right.
But we hope you do. We hope you do. We hope you enjoy it, and we'd love to hear from you. Questions, suggestions, all of the above.
Mm.
Any final thoughts, Andy Walker?
I think there's really only one thing left to do.
Okay.
Rock out, Pilgrims.